All right. If you watched the last video, then you may have been entertained. You may not have been. Because there are some major inconsistencies there. And we're going to talk about that right now. So, in this piece of music, if I can pull it up, there it is. It says mezzo piano, mezzo piano, mezzo piano. And these are carried over from before, which is mezzo piano. And then the oboe is mezzo forte. Tuba is still carried over from before, which is mezzo forte. So we got all kinds of dynamics going on at the same time, according to this paper, right? But fortunately, this paper is no longer etched in stone because these are merely suggestions, if you ask me, because the rule is the one rule is if it sounds good, it's good. If it doesn't sound good, it's not good. So, different instruments, different virtual instruments respond differently to dynamic markings in Cubase. So that can mean a lot of things. That can mean that, like for example, in this piccolo, let me resize this picture. I have it both forte and forte. Let's hear it by itself. Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious me. By itself. So, in order to get those piccolos to sound along like with the oboes that are doubling them in a different octave, which are mezzo forte. Also, I had them at staccato because staccatissimo is more like what they mean by staccato. It's like real short, and staccatissimo is kind of like in between tenuto and staccatissimo, and that's what I wanted. So I went with the Goldilocks formula right there. But then they're softer. Excuse me, they're louder than these legato expressive. So I had to make the legato expressive double forte and then come down to these staccatissimos. Whoops, I didn't do it there. Oh, I didn't fix that. I didn't fix that. ah, ah, right now. So where these mezzo fortes are on these two little scaling notes, these two little passing notes. And put on J, put it back to snap to grid. Anyway, they need to be staccatissimo. And then this needs to be legato espresso, staccatissimo, legato expressive, staccatissimo. Okay, let's hear that. Much better. Okay, and that's what I've read so far is that the orchestra is like a bunch of ensembles playing together. They're playing the same song, right? But they're playing different stuff. But they're playing together, and then it's like Voltron. It's like you're in this little ensemble, this little brass ensemble, for example, and there's all kinds of harmony that goes on in between it and counterpoint and whatnot. Just between the brass itself, and that's true with the woodwinds, true with the strings, even with the percussion. It's like they play with themselves, and then they play with each other. So that's how that works. All right, so that's the woodwinds. We did that. Um, close them up. How about the brass? All right, brass. The horns. Horns are so hard, especially with all these different. I got studio cinematic studio series horn, Museo Descant horn, Museo Solo Horn Pro, and Museo Solo Horn Core, and they all respond differently to the dynamics. So let's see where they are. This one's at mezzo forte. Let's hear it. Everybody sounds good. Sounds good, man. How about this descant horn? It didn't sound as good to me, but maybe I spoke too soon. Let's find out. Again, I need to fix that. I need to fix that to like fortissimo. All right, let's check and see if this is actually dynamically mapped because I didn't hear a bit of change. Nope, it's not. Okay, so mean minute volume, and then this is Museo, so we do modulation. Okay, let's hear it now. Much better. Much better. Okay, so see how that works? And I like the descant horn with the CSB horn because their tone's quite different. Quite different. Let's hear it again. Just the two of them together. Let's hear this one. This one. Together. Oh, they sound good. And then there's the horns below because I like the traditional orchestral setup. So those are like 4 horns. And that's what I got here. 4 horns. Okay. And then down here, I had to make them fortissimo. Like fortissimo. The suggestion is mezzo piano. It's fortissimo. But you have to achieve the desired result. Whichever way you got to do that, you know. So over here, I needed short notes. So what I did, because I only have the choice between long and legato, which is the same thing. I'm gonna make it legato because I think legato is a little bit more robust. Let's hear it. Okay, it's nice and short, but I need to change velocities because that sounds too robotic. Let's hear it now. Okay, that's better. Still a little machine gunny or a little robotic, but whatever. I do the best I can with what I got. All right, let's hear these two together. The bottom 2 horns. So hear just the solo horn pro. Okay, I need to do the same thing here. I didn't do it. Okay, these staccatos are not as short. That's all right. And here's how you do it. Here's how you make them shorter. Here's how you make them shorter artificially. You highlight them all the notes that you want to make shorter. Hit J. That takes it off the grid. Now you can shorten them to or lengthen them to your heart's desire. And you want them to not be the same as the length, quite the same as the length of the previous one because you want it to sound more human. You want it to sound more realistic. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Mix these all up. There we go. And notice I'm not doing this one and this one at the same time. I do them separately. because you want them to be as human as possible. That's what. There's the difference between Phil Collins playing drums and a drum machine playing for Phil Collins. It doesn't have the groove. It doesn't have as much groove to it. It doesn't have as much pocket. So, who knew the orchestra could have pocket? It sure does. In fact, it has like several pockets going on at the same time a lot of times. And you gotta be mindful of all of it. All right, so that's the horns. Let's hear everybody. Okay, so I've made my point, right? This is kind of loud. I might dial them back, like, proportionally, all of them, one or two ticks, two dynamic levels back. But then again, maybe not, because there's a certain level that you have to, a certain decibel level that you have to achieve, or even a certain attack level that you have to achieve, I should say, with velocity, to get that robust sound that is, unique to the orchestra. So if it says MP, but I have to make it forte in order to make the instrument sound good, and then maybe lower the volume artificially, that's what you got to do. All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.